it's certainly been a week. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to me doing the thing I always do on Mondays. That is, of course, the weekly Navel-Gazing, where I talk about all the books I read last week and all the books I plan to read this week, and all the videos I made last week, all the videos I plan to make this week, and whatever else comes up, usually. So, yeah, let's do just that and talk about the books for a second. And, yeah, I haven't read much for all kinds of stupid reasons, mostly not enough time. I did reread parts of The Eye of the Master, A Social History of Artificial Intelligence by Matteo Pasquinelli several times because, you know, work on that video. And I did reread The Score by C.T. Nguyen, which is a book about rules and games and stuff. It's from earlier from this year. It's a good book. I'm annoyed that he manages to avoid using the name of David Graeber, but, you know, it's still a good book. And, yeah, I reread that. And that's about it. The reason I didn't read much more is that I usually listen to audiobooks, and at some point, while going to the gym, and at some point, well, I had different appointments last week, so I didn't go to the gym as often as I usually do. And then I did also break the headphones for my phone, and I had to get new ones, and yeah, so it's been a whole mess of all kinds of really stupid reasons for me not to get too much reading. But this will hopefully change this week, at least somewhat. Let's talk about what I am planning to read this week. Well, Muskism, A Guide for the Perplexed, by Quinn Slobodian and Ben Tarnoff. It's been out in print for a while, but the audiobook only comes out tomorrow. I have it pre-ordered. I really appreciated what Quinn Slobodian has done in his previous books, so I'm, yeah, I don't want to say I'm excited for it, but I think it's going to be an interesting read for sure. So that's what I'll be going to read, definitely. After that, who knows? Could be anything. There are obviously other books coming out that will have to wait until next month when I can afford them, like the second book in the Captives War trilogy by James S.A. Corey. I think it's called The Faith of Beasts. Who knows? That one is definitely something I will get to. I was critical of the first book there, The Mercy of Gods. We'll see how I feel about the next one, you know, if stuff gets better or if stuff remains the same. That is one of those things we will have to find out next month, I guess. I do have, you know, book 1 and 2 of the Idan trilogy by Philip Chase here. Maybe I'll get to those. Who knows? My priorities are, of course, others, so I may just do some more selective rereading and stuff of books on artificial intelligence for, you know, the reason. So let's talk about videos instead. Yeah, very, very unproductive in a lot of ways. I did, however, obviously make one video. I replied to Johan over at Library of a Viking, who made a video about conservative booktubers or the right-wing grifters coming into the sphere, into the bookish sphere, and why that is a problem. That because obviously, you know, it is a problem. I think Johan is taking the wrong conclusions there, but I felt I had something to add, and I did make that video. Some of you seem to like it. I'm glad you did. If you are new here because of it, hey, I hope you enjoy the rest of the stuff that I'm doing as well. I do really appreciate all of that. So that's a video I made, and then I did work on the AI video. It's an ongoing process, as I said. I'll try to keep plugging away at it over the next couple of days. Ideally, I want this done by the end of the month, ideally by the end of the week, but there are, once again, additional issues, as so often. And then I did hang out with Britton yesterday on his Britton Social Club livestream Sunday evening. I do usually enjoy them. I was a bit tired yesterday, but it was fun. I hope those of you who watched it also had fun. I do, as I said, really enjoy these. So what videos will there be this week? Do I know? Do you know? Well, you might find out. The answer is I'll try to make at least one video. As I said, my focus right now is the AI video, and I am continuing work on it, and we'll talk about that some more, I think. But I also have another idea. I want to make a video. It's been something that's been driving me mad for a while now, and that is, of course, the idea of rules for reading. I know Ryan Holiday made this video, and then like week after week after week after month by now, and people are making videos responding to that, and that has got me thinking about stuff. And that's, you know, why I did reread The Score by C.T. Nguyen, and why I did reread The Utopia of Rules by David Graeber, because I think there is something important to be said about the concept of rules, how we apply them to reading, what that says about reading, what that says about us, and I don't know. Maybe I just don't like people who do stoicism on the internet, but that's a me thing. You know, so I'm trying to work on that video, and should I get into Prophet of Idan, not Prophet of Idan, the first one, Way of Idan, this week, then maybe I'll have an idea for a video on that. And maybe I'll get angry or upset about something. The whole like politics and booktube thing seems to keep going, because I don't know what's going on at the moment, but I saw Brian over at the Bookish Texan make a video about how he was trying to have an honest conversation with conservative booktubers. Now, I personally think that is a doomed project, because while there are definitely conservative booktubers, that's not the people he meant. The people he meant are right-wing grifters, and you can't have good faith debates with right-wing grifters. That's not how that works. They don't want honest conversations. That's really at the basis of this. And there is, I think, you know, the thing I said in my video last week is like, we need to be more explicit and clear about our politics, because otherwise it is very easy for bad faith actors to come into our spaces and basically take them over, monopolize the conversation and discourse and so on. And that is a problem. Like, having people explain that because BookTube, which doesn't exist, is obsessed with feminism, it is left-wing, when no, feminism is not left-wing. That's not how that works. But there have been such weird sort of like skewings when it comes to political understanding that it's very difficult to have these kind of conversations, and I wonder if it is even possible, because what you need to do before having a well-educated, good faith conversation in about political topics is, of course, get people to be well educated, and most people aren't. And that's like one of the reasons that I, you know, last year made that video about about anti-intellectualism, because the problem is not so much the problem is one of systemic miseducation that has been happening for at least 60 or 70 years, and that has been driven by, well, the far right, the reactionary right, to put it mildly. And we've reached a point where a lot of conversations are basically impossible because people don't know what they're talking about, and that's really, really bad. And that's, as I said, like one of the reasons why I try to sort of like have educational elements in my content, because I've read lots of books, and maybe that will help you understand what to do and what kind of books to read, and help you make choices about that. Maybe you'll learn something, is what I'm saying. Anyway, so I might also return to the whole politics conversation later on. We will see. I don't necessarily want to, but you know, it might be necessary. So that's that. I might also try to do my monthly live stream on Sunday. The problem is I'll be going to Keep It True Festival on Friday and Saturday, possibly even on Thursday. It's all up in the air at the moment, and return on Sunday. So depending on how fucked up I am after, you know, camping and everything, it may be a very how to say that, exhausted stream. We'll find out. So I'm trying to figure all of these things out, because life, as always, is strange and weird and difficult, and that's also what has, you know, kept me from making much more progress on, say, the AI video. So last week, as I said, was a week, to put it mildly. I had several appointments, one with like the job center for finding techniques to overcome my inability to deal with bureaucracy and stuff like that, where I have like severe hang-ups and anxieties. And then I had a dentist appointment. You may have noticed that I do in fact have a new tooth up there and don't look just as hobo-like as I did last week. So that is, I think, a new thing that hopefully does help. It also obviously meant that I did restart recording parts for the AI video, because I personally want consistency in there, and consistency means, reshooting the older parts so I have teeth, a full set of teeth there. So that's something that happened, and that kind of, as I said, slowed me down some. But it's only one part of it. There are all kinds of elements in here, I think, that are important, and one of them is insecurity. Like, insecurity has always been a massive issue for me, and I suspect for a lot of people. And there are ways of overcoming that, and they're difficult. One is, of course, that, looking less disheveled or whatever is certainly something that helps me, because I have insecurities about like how I appear on the screen, right? Like, so that certainly is one thing, because while I can lean into the idea of, not looking as well-groomed or whatever as some people expect me, or expect people that make true, bigger claims, the whole idea of like looking like an authority to be an authority, the way I definitely don't. While I do, you can lean into that up to a point, but there are also, it should be a decision, right? And not having a knocked out tooth, that wasn't a decision, right? Me making a video just without a shirt, that's a choice. That's a choice I made, and that gives me control up to a point. And it's a way to sort of like preemptively sort of overcome some fears that I have. Like, I always worry when I make videos that are more well-researched, right? I often worry that someone who knows more than me will come into the comments and tell me that I'm full of shit and don't actually know what I'm talking about. That's a constant worry that is there. Now, if people come and complain that I'm not to be trusted because clearly I don't dress the right way to talk about serious topics, yeah, that's on them, because there are no rules, and there should be no rules about that. There are obviously, sometimes dress codes or whatever, but this is the fucking internet, and if an argument based on 30 books is invalid because I'm wearing the wrong shirt, well, that's on you and not on me. So I think there is sort of like a mechanism for me to sort of like preemptively defend myself against certain forms of criticism in a sense, but it has to be deliberate, and it has to be that leaning in thing, and that is certainly something that I'm working on in that regard. And as I said, like, there is constant insecurity, and the problem is, of course, also feedback, right? See, if I make a video and it's one video, I film it, I render it, I edit it, render it, upload it, done. And then I get feedback, and if the feedback is good, I'm fine. If I get no feedback, then because no one watches it or no one comments or whatever, then, that's that. The problem is that if I make video like the AI video or last year's video on anti-intellectualism, or videos on anti-Semitism in fantasy or Arthurian literature, I'm working on this for a long, long time, and all the while I have one video, one part, one segment recorded, and working on the next part, I don't have that feedback, so I can have like all the questions, all the self-doubt, all of that stuff can slowly creep in at the edges of my mind. And while I'm recording part 3, I'm starting to worry that I should really, really, really go back and re-record part 1, because maybe I forgot something, or maybe I could have done it better. And that way, obviously, that is madness. Now, obviously, one way of overcoming that is, of course, to send individual parts as soon as they are recorded to someone I trust, and have them read it and tell me what they think, and give me some feedback for the in process. And in general, I do sometimes do that, and I hope that maybe I can get some feedback on individual parts of the AI video while I'm in the process of doing that. I also need help with the final result, because cutting together or in this, obviously concatenating and with transitions and so forth, individual parts can lead to problems like maybe the sync between image and audio might be off, or something. There's things that could get wrong that I can't notice because I can't see them. So even when the final one is basically fully put together, the individual parts, I will also have to ask someone to at least scroll through it and make sure that everything is in sync and the transitions look good. Those are two different forms of feedback in a sense. And my hope is that by having a couple of people watch individual parts of the AI video, I can overcome that constant questioning, that constant self-doubt, and maybe move on quicker. That is a goal. Now, if you are someone who was like, hey, I'd rather, I'd be interested in watching individual parts already, I don't know, tell me down in the comments, and we can figure out how to do that. I mean, I could technically just upload them all and put them behind that paywall, that is, for channel members and people on the Patreon, which is an option I have, but maybe that's not the best way of doing that, because once again, I don't want to have stuff behind a paywall. I want the things I make to be accessible to everyone, because, your ability to watch my stuff should not be tied to your ability to pay me stuff, pay me money. I don't want that. So that is certainly something that I'm trying to figure out. But as if you are interested in doing that, I don't know, let me know in the comments, and we can figure this shit out. So that is my goal right now, is to focus on that AI video and get it out, as I said, ideally before I leave for Keep It True Festival. I was supposed to, or it almost looked like I would be spending this week at a conference. That didn't pan out for logistical reasons. Stuff is complicated. As I said, the last week has been in general one of very much self-doubt and a lot of questioning who I am, why I'm doing things, all of the wonderful depression stuff that from time to time jumps in. I'm trying to overcome it, and I went to some friend's party over the weekend and stuff like that. So I am slowly getting better, interacting with friends out there in the physical world, people I haven't seen in a while and so forth, and that can bring back certain, levels of, I don't want to say security, but certainly a way of feeling valued, I think, in a way that is not dependent on any algorithms like, the YouTube algorithms or whatever, right? So that is good, and I hope that more of that will help me sort of get back into the swing of things, now that I, have that full bright smile again, and we can hopefully figure all of these things out. But I still, at this point, I really need that AI video to be done, because I have sort of pinned so much of my own sort of self-image to that video that, not making it would be a severe blow to my self-esteem, and so much more. So I'm trying to, overcome that and just get it done with, and then face whatever else comes next. And I really want to move on to, other things. Mormonism, Brandon Sanderson, that thing is sort of the next big one that I'm interested in, but we will see how that goes, because first there is that AI video. Anyway, let me know what you guys did last week, what you guys tried to do last week, what you're planning to read this week, all of those wonderful things. Put them down in the comments. Tell me fun things for once. I don't know. Most importantly, however, read good books and be good people. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, thanks and cheers.